Start by preparing the surface. If you want a very high mirror gloss, a little bit of our Saphir Médaille d'Or Paris 1925 polish, and put roughly 5 layers on the shoe or boot, all over. Once you have that, buff it out and add Pâte de Luxe polish and layer it up until smooth. Every about 3 layers, buff it out. This is to ensure that all the polish sticks to each other. Once you have a nice mirror shine with water and Pâte de Luxe polish, take your Saphir Mirror Gloss polish, which is a neutral polish, it's not a black polish, and add it over, just 1 or 2 layers, you don't need very much. And this is to enhance our durability and assist with adding a little bit of extra shine to our boots or shoes or dress shoes, whatever you wear. Secondly, we have our toothbrush. This is a fairly important part of our kit, and you can get it wherever, dollar store, right? Not very expensive. This is so that you take a little bit of polish on it and you just rub it around to get right in this crease, because you don't want that little light pattern around it, because when you're looking at it, it stands out. So you want to blacken that and blacken the side. This will in turn make this look better, but also make your shine, your mirror gloss on your shoe stand out way more. Thirdly, we have our brush. Right here, I use a 4 Seasons. Next, we have our boot horn, boot club, whatever you would like to call it. However, you can use many things. I use this. It's a Fintoco boot horn shoe filler, whatever you would like to call it. If you do not have this, you can even use your issued socks or a t-shirt. The idea behind these is you shove them in to fill in all of here to make it feel like your foot is actually in the boot, which is the idea behind this. And then what this will in turn do is shape it a little bit, but also add a little bit of a hard surface, so that when you're polishing, it's not just pressing in, right? So here, it's a little bit firmer, right? If we take it out, you see the difference. So now when we're polishing, and after a little while, it might just press, just that little bit. And that will in turn cause all this to crack, and go this way, and go this way, and go this way, and not look very good. And lastly, but certainly not least, we have our boots, or shoes, whatever you have. A thing that a lot of people talk about shoes, about the cadet program, especially with their boots, is the Gen 5s suck. The Gen 5s are the new parade boots that the military has been issuing to cadets. Those boots, while yes, they do not hold a polish, they are perfect for learning on. Because if a cadet has a brand new idea of how to polish, using a credit card, whatever, for stripping, if they wreck a pair of Gen 5s, it is way cheaper than wrecking a pair of Gen 1s. So there's a trade-off. Yes, Gen 5s are cheaper. They're also better for new cadets because they can learn and not wreck a $300 or $400 pair of shoes. Gen 5s will polish okay. They hold a polish not very good at all. Gen 1s, on the other hand, have steel toes, which in turn polish a little bit easier than Gen 5s, but also hold a polish for longer, which is a big thing. First step to do is take your filler or whatever you're going to use for your boots or shoes. You can even use sand if you really want to. I'm going to use a boot club. and we're going to put it inside of it and press it down. This ensures everything's nice and hard when we're polishing, it's not moving around. Okay. Next step, we're going to take our horsehair brush. It's not really hard, it's just a soft brush. And we're going to give a nice brush to make sure there's no dust or debris on our boot. If there's any dust or debris on your boots, then that will cause your polish to get boot cancer quicker, and also has the downside of, with a high gloss polish, to have little dots or specks in the shine that is very visible. Now that we have brushed our shoe, we're going to take our toothbrush and our polish and put a little bit on there, and you want to do this inner part of the sole, right? You want to do right here. Okay, just go around like this, and you're ensuring that you get rid of all that light color. And this will, once you shine, make everything stand out even more. And then the next step is to inspect your sides. If you see any light spot, take a bit of polish and go around it. Okay? Your entire seam here of the sole and the side of the sole should all be blackened. And now we have that done, you can see it just stands out a bit more. Our next step is to take a little bit of polish on your fingers. You can even wear gloves, or you can use your cloth. I prefer just simply using my bare fingers because, firstly, I can get a little bit more on. Right? May not look like very much, but I can get quite a bit on there. And you want to get a fairly large amount, right? To just rub it in. And then you want to rub around where you're going to shine. This is for your layering. This is to quickly layer up your boot. Okay? And you're just going to layer like this. You can even go side to side. Right? And I use 2 fingers. Just works well. Goes a little bit faster. Once you feel like you're not getting very much, just add a bit more. Right? And you do this 3 layers. And then you'll buff it out with the horsehair brush, which is just rubbing. But one thing to keep in mind is you're doing 2 boots, right? You're doing your left and your right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this boot 3 layers, okay, all the way around the boot. Let it sit for right around 20 to 30 minutes, and then I'll buff it out with my horsehair brush, and then I'll add more. I'm not going to 3 layers immediately brush it, because then it's going to remove some of the polish, and we don't really want that. But first, we must add our layers. We have let our boot sit for right around 30 minutes. We can now continue with taking a horsehair brush and buffing like this. And again, you don't want to be really rough, but you also don't want to be really, really soft. So you can be a bit harsh on it. Leave it. Put your brush away and let it sit for another 30 minutes. Okay? You probably added a little bit too much polish, and when you're trying to brush and it's really, really hard to brush, you're not getting anywhere. You're just simply brushing all of your work off. So just let it sit for another 30 minutes and harden, and then continue. Okay? We've just buffed it, so now we'll do the same thing. Repeat. This is our 4th layer. The first layer of our 2nd round. And then we're going to add some fingers. Like such. And continue. You do this another 3 layers all the way around until it's smooth. Generally for me, it's right around 15 to 20 layers doing this, of about 3 per. So I'll go 1, 2, 3, right? 1 layer, 2 layer, 3 layers all around the boot. and then let it sit, buff it out, another 3 layers, that's 6, and buff it out, another 3 layers, 9, another 3 layers, 12, another 3 layers, 15. Still not smooth, and I'll go right around to 21, around there, right? And then around there is when it's pretty smooth. Then I'll move on to this. So I will do all the layering with simply just M&B up to a 15 layer, and we'll be back. Okay, we have finished our 15th layer. We've let it sit for 30 minutes between each 3 layers, and we have buffed after every 30 minutes for each 3 layers. And our boot is currently looking like this. Okay, you may notice it looks kind of gray, right? You may not be able to see it on the camera, however, in my view, it looks a little bit gray tint. This is the biggest downside that I have found with using the M&B. Thus, what I do to fix that is I will combine a little bit of Pata Deluxe after I complete layering. So now I've done 15 layers. I'll go and put on another 5 or 6 layers of Pata Deluxe, which is a little bit darker, and that will make everything more dark, but at the same time you're not using an expensive polish to layer. However, for this we're going to go over M&B only. We're not using anything else. At the end I will add a 5 layers of Pata Deluxe Shine. So I'll shine everything to a mirror with just M&B, see how it looks, and then add a little bit of Pata Deluxe and show you what the difference is to using just a little bit of high quality polish, and the rest is just M&B. Combinations is what works often. So now we're done our 15 layers. Again, take your M&B, take your polishing cloth, and what I do is I'll put my 2 fingers like this, okay, and then I'll wrap it around just like that, okay, and then I'll twist right here like this. Okay, so I'm going to twist this, so I'm just going to twist it, okay, and twist it a little bit so it's out of the way, and then I'll wrap this around my hand, right? So I'll wrap it, I'll twist it, and then wrap it, and then I'll tuck it in below the other one, and now it's kind of all held away from our front, right? You can even use a bobby pin. That works quite well. You just wrap it there, throw a bobby pin right there, and it holds it completely out of the way. For this, I'll just throw my thumb right there and then wrap my other fingers around, and then I can polish just like that. Okay, so what we're gonna do is, you don't want to press too hard, you just want a little bit, like 3 wipes, whatever, see, and then take our water, right? This is just plain water. You can even use an alcohol. I use alcohol, but this, just plain water. Okay, dip it. You want your finger to be fairly soaked, and then once you have the tip of the cloth completely soaked through, you want to try and flick it off. You use a hand, whatever, okay, and then add just a dab more polish. This is so that you don't have an absurd amount of water puddles on your boot. It just makes it a little bit easier. Okay, and then you're gonna go little tiny circles, so like the size of a quarter or size of a penny. To start, just gonna go just like this, and if we end up needing more water, we can always get some more water. Okay, if you ever feel like it needs a little bit of extra resistance, dab in some water and then continue, right? And you're just gonna continue doing that the entire way. And what I usually do is, again, I'll do about 2 layers and then I'll go and let it sit and harden, because you always want to leave a bit of rest time between layers. or else they will have some issues with food cancer. So what we'll do is I'll bring you back after the 4th layer of shining, and you can see what the difference is. Okay, so we have now completed our 4th layer of shining all the way around with only M&B, and you can kind of look, starting to get a little bit of shine. Okay, and usually I go about 20 layers of shining, and then I get almost a mirror finish, and then I'll go and add a higher gloss polish like my Saphir Medal d'Or, which I use another 6 or so layers, and then after that I'll add another few layers of Saphir Mirror Gloss neutral polish, and that will just bring out the shine even more. For this, we've done 4 layers, and there's already a shine there, okay? And it's smooth. So now we are going to go up to a 20 layers of polish. So we're going to do 16 more layers, and then we'll go back, and I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. After every 4 layers, take my horsehair brush. So I've done 4 layers currently. I've let it sit for about 10 minutes just to make sure everything's nice and hard. And then I'm going to take my horsehair brush and give it a light brush. Okay? Just a very, very light brush. So, we have completed layering up to 15 layers, and only with M&B up to this point. And not sure if you can see with the camera, however, it is very shiny, it is mirrored, but has a grayish blue tint to it. That is what I found to be the biggest downside with using this M&B polish, is the fact that it leaves a little blue tint, little gray tint to it, which impacts how dark your shine becomes and how deep it becomes. So what we can do to kind of blacken that shine and deepen it a bit more is, number one, at the start, if we have a bit more of layering types of polish, so if we have a Medal d'Or polish, we can add 3 layers of this before we start layering with M&B, and then after we layer with M&B, we can add Pâte de Luxe, and then add some Saphir Mirror Gloss. We're doing this as simply as we can with limited pieces of polish kits. Thus, all we're going to use is M&B, and now what we're going to do is shine it up with some Pâte de Luxe, and then I'll show you what the end result is. Okay, so it might be fairly difficult for you to see, but now the polish and the depth is a little bit deeper and darker. And that's after I used the 5 layers on top of my 15 layers of M&B High Gloss. I put on 5 layers of Pâte de Luxe. Okay, same idea, water and shame polishing cloth. Maybe hard for you to see, however, it is darker, deeper, and simply has a little bit more of bling to it. However, I recommend when you're buying polish, do some research. My recommendation is, if you don't have a very big budget, these 2 are okay. So I would go, this one would be rated around a 6 out of 10 stars, or around a, say, 3.5 out of 5 stars for M&B. So it's not bad, but it's also not the best. I would not say it's premium. You can also use Kiwi. Kiwi works really well. It's a harder polish, so it's going to take a lot longer to layer. I give Kiwi right around a 8.5 to a 9 out of 10, or a 4.5 around there out of 5. Or get Pâte de Luxe. I would give this right around a 8.5 to a 9. It's about the same as Kiwi, only they have different ideas. So, M&B High Gloss, it's a general polish, right? It's really good for layering, it's a softer polish. Saphir Pâte de Luxe is a polish that works perfectly fine on its own, usually. However, for getting those high mirror shines, usually you want some other ones, like this. Saphir Meteor. But you can get a perfectly fine dark shine with Pâte de Luxe that's nice and dark in color and deep. M&B, you're going to get a gray shine. Kiwi, you're going to get a dark shine, but you're going to take a lot longer. And Kiwi is a little bit cheaper than Pâte de Luxe. This I'll put in the description. I'll put this in the description, and I'll also put Kiwi in the description, so you can look at those. I'll also be putting the Médaille d'Or and the Saphir Mirror Gloss polish in the description, and some cloths and brushes, so you can look at it and pick what you want. It's really budgeting. If you don't have a big budget, go for this. It's right around $7. It's really, really cheap. But you don't get all the nice shine from this. This is right around $15 to $20 now. So it's right around 3 to 4 times more expensive. However, you get a nicer shine. And both of them are soft polishes. Kiwi is a hard polish. Kiwi is on its own, without any extra polish, better than this. However, it takes way longer to polish because it's a hard polish. So it is really what you want to do. If you're just getting a polish, just one, Kiwi or Pâte de Luxe, if you have that little bit of money, a little bit of extra money. Pâte de Luxe I recommend if you want to do it just quickly, just polish it, be done with it. Okay. I use Pâte de Luxe, I use Saphir combination, so I'll put 3 layers of this, layer up 30 layers of Pâte de Luxe, and then add another 3 or 4 layers of Saphir Neutral Mirror Gloss polish. This is a hard polish, Mirror Gloss is a hard polish, this is a soft. And the reasoning is, I use only 3 layers of this, really. 3 layers of Mirror Gloss, 6 layers. Doesn't take very long. Pâte de Luxe is a soft polish, so I can layer up 20 or 30 layers really quickly. So it's about what you are going to do. However, I recommend Pâte de Luxe.